Welcome to the Be Real podcast with Joe Cebula. That's him. Bobby Maximus. That is me. And today, Joe, I honestly just want to tell you why you're fat.
Oh, well, thank you.
You're welcome. Here's the deal. I am so...
Maybe I should start. Maybe it's because I ate a box of Oreos yesterday.
Yeah,
maybe it's because I didn't work out.
Because you treat your body like an amusement park. But I am so sick and tired of today's society of like everything's your genetics.
Yep.
Everything's you don't have the right program. Everything's it's not your fault. Everybody makes an excuse about something. There was actually a funny thing I was looking at the other day. There's this Facebook trainer. She's fairly famous and she absolutely hates 75 hard. Now listen, I'm not even biased here. Like, yes, I do work with First Form. Yes, I like and I try to support the things that they do, but I actually like the 75 hard program.
I've never had a problem with it.
When you look at it at root value, you got to work out twice a day, but one of them has to be outside. So you're looking at doing some weights in the morning and going for a walk at night. Mm-hmm. You got to read 10 pages of a book a day. You got to snap a selfie a day, and you got to follow a diet. And here's the kicker. It doesn't even need to be a specific diet. Yeah. It's whatever diet you choose to stick to. So you set the parameters. And it's come out that this is extreme, that this causes eating disorders, that this is why people are unhappy with themselves and blah, 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 blah. And since when did this become hard? Since when is this difficult? Like to simply just eat healthy, show up at the gym every day, and I'm going to do something here, and if you're listening, I just snapped a selfie of myself with a little duck face. But what did that take, Joe? 3 seconds?
Well, I mean, think about what it means to say this is too hard. It's too hard to expect that you can stick to any kind of diet. It's too hard to expect that you can work out every day or that going for a walk outside is too much for you. So what we need to do here is not challenge ourselves, but we need to lower the bar for everyone.
Yes.
We got to make sure that if we're going to put stuff out there on the internet, that it has to be the lowest hanging fruit that the laziest, least motivated person can actually stick to. We don't have to worry about the people who are, average, people who have jobs, but also kind of want to take care of their bodies, people who are interested in learning and might enjoy reading a book, right? Like that's too much for people. Is that like, I don't understand what's to hate about this.
Well, and then there's these trainers, and this is where this trainer's coming from. This is so extreme to ask people to do this. It's funny because that trainer that you love, and I've said this before, I'll say it again. The trainer with the shoulders, the trainer with the pecs, the trainer with the abs, the trainer with the legs, they're telling you that it's okay to work out twice a week, that you just need to do your best, that sometimes you just really need a day off, and that's okay. And if you eat a sleeve of Oreo cookies dipped in butter, that's totally okay because, sometimes
I'm not sure if that sounds good or not.
Sometimes you just got to eat your feelings, Joe, and it's okay.
Have you done
this?
What
you should do? You know what the worst thing for you is? If on a Friday night you drink 15 beer, you eat 3 pizzas and a box of Krispy Kreme donuts, you should not feel shame on Saturday. You are human and you needed that food. You needed that break, and good for you. Like, I'm so sick and tired of this, what you just said, like lowest common denominator mentality. And I just want you to think about this with 75 hard. You're being asked to do something for 75 days. Like,
yeah, the number 75 is intimidating because you're like, wow, that's a lot. But it's like, that isn't that much.
It's like 2.5 months. Like, I'm just asking you to commit. And they're not asking you, like, if you look at Andy's original program, you're not being asked to work out 30 minutes a day, an hour a day, 5 hours a day. Like, you just got to do a workout in the morning or night. So there's some flexibility too. Like if
that's the thing that I like that about the 75 hard is that it's not like you have to work out hard for an hour in the morning and you got like boot camp stuff for an hour at night. And then you have to eat nothing but raw bull testicles for 2.5 months. Like, it's pretty scalable. Like, if you're just starting out, you're going to make different choices than if you're already pretty hardcore, but it still applies.
Yeah. And so you just get it done. And what it is, it's a mental reset for people. Like, it's not necessarily a weightlifting program. It's not necessarily a diet. It's a mental reset. But the purpose of this podcast wasn't to talk about whether I think 75 Hard is a good program or not. It was literally just to talk about why people are fat and stop believing the hype on the internet. If you're overweight, if you're fat, if you're out of shape, if you look in the mirror and you don't like the reflection looking back at you, 99.9% chance that the reason you're in that position is you haven't put in enough effort. Plain and simple. You didn't work hard enough in the gym. You didn't work long enough in the gym. You didn't hit the right intensity in the gym. You didn't eat the right food. You didn't prioritize sleep or self-care. Like, it's one of those things. It's not that you were the rare, unlucky 1 in a billion person that was doomed to a poor physique. Like, that just doesn't happen. When I see, and I got kids, right? You got kids. When I'm at taekwondo, when I'm at football, when I'm at jiu-jitsu, when I'm at soccer, basketball, all these activities the kids do. And I look over and I see a dad who's 30 pounds overweight. He's got a dad bod. His skin looks bad. He looks like he doesn't have a lot of energy. He's not living his best life. Let's put it that way. My first thought isn't, man, that poor guy, God hated him. He really got some bad genetics.
Right?
like my
like what sins has this man committed in a past life to deserve this?
Yeah, what did you do to St. Peter and Jesus for them to curse you with this whatever? But like, even my 15-year-old, he starts to get a little snarky now, but he'll be like, "Hey, Dad, bro needs to work out." And he'll like point to the guy, and I start laughing. But like, hey, that's not very nice. We need to respect people, but you're not wrong.
Yeah.
It's that's my first thought. Is like, this guy's diet's crap. Or now, conversely, if you see somebody that looks like me, 6'3", 245 pounds, 10% body fat, someone like The Rock, someone like John Cena, someone like whoever, and you look at them, is your first thought, Joe, wow, that guy has good genetics? Or B,
he's juicing.
Man, that guy must spend a lot of time in the gym.
That dude's he's on TRT, he's juicing.
And
nobody will give you the credit that you're working out. Nobody will give you the credit that you've put, 20, 30 years into your physique. It's automatically going to be, I don't look like that, so obviously they're cheating.
Yeah, they're cheating, but you'll still think they work out all the time. There's actually a thing about this. I remember hearing about how people were trying to justify dad bods, right? Like, women were like, "Oh, I want a guy with a dad bod." And one of the justifications was that I don't want a fit guy because he's obsessed with the gym. He's going to spend, that's people's thought. Like, that guy works out all the time. But when it comes to your fitness, when you look in the mirror, you're incapable of looking in the mirror and doing some real self-assessment, some real ruthless self-assessment, and thinking like, man, maybe I'm lazy. Maybe I need to work a little harder. Maybe I need to, actually yesterday, Joe, you'll find this funny. I brought a workout out of retirement. I filmed a new video called Train Like a Spartan. We're going to see how well you know me. Just exercise in general. I did an exercise video called Train Like a Spartan, and I struggled over this. What workout do you think I did for the video, Train Like a Spartan? Come on, Joe, the $1 million question. If there was one workout, what did I do?
You did 300.
Did 300. Simple, right? Remind me, I just filmed it yesterday, but it's 25 pull-ups, 50 deadlifts at 135, 50 push-ups, 50 box jumps, 50 floor wipers, 50 single arm clean and presses with a kettlebell, and then 25 pull-ups. It makes 300 reps. So I filmed this for my video yesterday, and here's my point where I'm going with this. I had some of the guys in the gym do it today. They've never done it before. I haven't done this workout in years, but Train Like a Spartan, it's kind of the thing you got to do, right? So The original 300 workout had my guys do it to see if they could do it under 20 minutes. I think if you could do it under 20 minutes, it's fairly good. Like I've seen much faster times, but under 20 minutes, you're doing okay. I had all my guys do it in the gym. And it's funny because one of my guys went after it hard, Joe. Like busting out the pull-ups, busting out the deadlifts. He was dying by the end. Mm. One of my guys went to like get a drink in the middle of the circuit. And like went to the, and I'm like, what the actual, like what? And I want to
just like the Spartans used to do.
Like this is my fault as a trainer, but I wanted to release, like right now, I for a fact, I want to release just a stream of profanities, but YouTube will take us right down. Like, Joe, I was actually like looking at this, like, did this guy actually just take a drink in a
don't you remember during the Battle of Thermopylae, the 300 Spartans were holding the pass and they got really tired, so they just walked away to get a drink?
Did this dude take a rest break? Like I was actually like, anyway. He still did it in under 20 minutes. Like, good for him.
Cool.
Yeah. He actually clocked in at 18 minutes and 4 seconds.
Well, it could have been 17, but he had to take a call.
And I was like, what are you? But here's why I'm telling you that, and there's a reason for that. Because if he's not happy with his level of fitness, if he's not happy with his physique, and by the way, this guy looks phenomenal, so none of this is true, but if he's not happy with where he is, he's going to probably fall back on, I did this in 18 minutes. That's a good time. I was 2 minutes under the 20-minute time cap. I looked up some of the actors on the movie, and their times were 19 minutes and 22 minutes and 25 minutes. And I crushed this in Men's Health. There was a guy named Craig Ballantyne who did a article for Men's Health, and he did the workout, and he did it in 1914, and I'm beating him, and I'm doing great. Pat. Mm-hmm. But my question is, could you have went harder? Had you have not had that drink, had you have not went to the bathroom,
that's a capacity versus potential thing, right? Yeah. Like your capacity is to do this under 20 minutes, but your potential is you could do it in 12. So you're not living up to your potential.
Like I think he could do it in 14 minutes, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? 50 deadlifts. And it was funny because we spoke after. I trained literally 1,000 Rangers. I've been to Fort Benning, Hunter Airfield. We've talked about that before. And there's a test that the Rangers do as part of the RAW program that's max reps at 225 on a deadlift. I've seen guys do 54. I've seen guys do 52. Not a lot. That's a big number. But the gross majority of them are hitting 20 to 30 reps, Joe. You can do 50 reps of deadlift at 135 without putting that bar down. Like I promise you, if I tell you today, Joe, go try to do 50 reps, you can get there. It's not that bad. You can do that on bench press. And he took a break after 10. I'm like, what are you doing? And so I'm not trying to rip on this guy.
Well, and to be fair, because you know this, Bobby, but my max deadlift is over 600. So for me, doing 135 is pretty dang light. Like, yeah, that's nothing.
This guy's is 500.
Yeah,
he can rep at 135 all day. So my whole point to tell you this story, if you're listening, and this is why you're fat, you probably don't work as hard as you think you do. You did the 300 workout. You did it in 18 minutes. You're pumping your tires. You leave it, and you're feeling like, I did awesome. Or you're just patting yourself on the back for showing up and trying it.
Well, this is a situation now where, again, you're comparing yourself to other people. And folks who are just starting off in weight loss or in fitness, or even if they're looking to start bodybuilding, you're always told that. Any decent coach will tell you, don't compare yourself to other people because you're starting out and they've been at it for 15 years. But it also goes when you've been at it for 15 years and you're settling for your results. Yes. Because again, your potential is much higher than your capacity, and your capacity is adequate. But are you satisfied with adequate? And the answer is you shouldn't be.
You know the saying, two things can be true at the same time? Mm-hmm. Good. I'm proud of me. I showed up twice this week. I did awesome. That's twice more than I would have shown up, whatever. The other truth to that, Joe, is, and just to make sure the nerds don't come at me with my math, you only showed up on 28.5% of days. So great. You showed up twice this week, and that's 2 more than you would have done. And that's a big win. And you deserve that Dairy Queen blizzard. And you deserve.
Here's my question, though. Why is that the reward, Bobby? If your goal is to lose weight, if your goal is to look shredded, if your goal is to be super fit, why is the reward to drink the poison? You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't the reward be like, hey, you get a ribeye steak slathered in butter and a glass of red wine for dinner tonight. Good job.
So I gotta say this. I put up my list the other day. No bread, no juice, no. And some dude went nuclear in the comments. How do you expect people to live without bread and juice? That's where 99% of people's carbohydrates come from. And I was like, potatoes, rice, raspberries, blueberries, bananas, oranges. Like, what are we really at this point? We're telling somebody not to drink juice or not to drink.
Well, here's a fun fact. Like, I can't remember the last time I drank juice of any kind.
Yeah.
So
and I'm not saying,
and that's not like a fitness thing. That's just like, I just don't drink juice.
Yeah. And here's the thing, Joe. I'm not even saying juice is horrible for you.
Right.
Like you sit down, you have some farm fresh eggs, some sausage, you have a little glass of orange juice. Like, I'm not saying it's poison. I'm not saying
if you work hard labor, there's nothing better than a glass of orange juice. I did that in college.
I'm not saying it's bad for you, but what I am saying is, if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to be lean, 2 oranges would probably be a better choice than a glass of orange juice.
Yep.
And it's probably an empty calorie for you at some point. Again, I don't think it's bad for you. I think it's natural, but you also have to talk about, now we're way down a rabbit hole, but like, what type of orange juice are we talking? Are we talking Tang? Are we talking Kool-Aid? Are we talking
Tang is good enough for the astronauts, Bobby. Science don't lie.
Are we talking like the Simply Orange brand where it says it's 100% oranges, but it's probably not, and it's pasteurized and it's whatever? Or are we actually talking like you squeezed oranges and made orange juice? Because those are all very different things. But my point, Joe, again, is like, you showed up twice a week. You can't pat yourself on the back for that. Like, showing up twice a week is only going to get you so far. But
don't celebrate being adequate, right? Don't celebrate mediocrity. Like, that's okay. Like, good, but that's not worth celebrating.
Or you have the person that's sticking their hand in a bag of chips on Friday. They're going out with the kids on Saturday and they're eating fries off the kids' plate. They're having the cookies on Sunday or the French toast. And they're living 2 truths. The one is, man, I hate my body. Like, I'm overweight. I don't feel sexy. My wife's not attracted to me. My husband doesn't look at me. I feel gross and bloated. And the other truth is, man, I need this French toast. I don't want to restrict. I deserve it. I worked out twice this week, and you're trying to like make these things fit, and they don't. So let's break this down. This is why you're fat. You don't work out hard enough. You're doing the 300 workout in 28 minutes instead of 21. You're taking 21 when it should have taken you 18, 17, 16, like whatever you want to word that. You're going for a run, and you're the dude who leaves your house. You go down the block, you turn right, you turn right, you turn right. You do the same loop every single day, and you never really go any faster. One day it's 28 minutes. One day it's 29. One day you're feeling pretty good and you didn't take a phone call on your run, so you did it at 27. And you're really not doing anything at that point, Joe. Like, you're not pushing yourself.
I have a phrase for this. You're going to love this. We were talking about Prilipin's chart, right? So the number of reps and sets you should do at particular percentages of 1 rep max. Like, very, very nerdy conversation I was having with a weightlifting coach. And I just asked him, in your opinion, like, if you're not hitting the chart, if you're not at 50% or better and kind of following these guidelines, like, what is the training effect? And he said, chewing gum. He's like, you're just chewing gum. You're working your muscles, and maybe you're burning some calories, but you're not training your muscles. You're not moving forward in any meaningful way. You're just enjoying movement at that point.
Training to me implies that you're hurting.
Like I would say it's not. Training should hurt, but never injure. I think that's a really important maxim.
Let's get that definition right. But I've exercised in my life, I've worked out in my life, and I've trained in my life.
Yeah, I like that.
Exercise is going for a walk with my kids or my wife.
Movement. It's just movement.
Right? Working out is 10 sets of 5, 3 sets of 12, 10 sets of 10.
Yeah, maybe even following a program, right?
Where I'm pushing myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Training, I am too old for this.
I had this same thought this morning doing my workout because I was thinking about, I used to train a lot like a power lifter where I would analyze my lifts and pick my accessory exercise based on my weakest factor and just trying to push that one measurement, that max lift to its absolute, highest point that I could reach. And I can't do that anymore. I don't have the recovery for it. I don't have the patience for it. And so it's like, I need to work out. I need to exercise. But when I train, I have to train for much more general things now.
Training implies some kind of discomfort.
Yes.
But I'll even talk to you about competing because I'm right into the NBA playoffs. I'm loving it right now. And I watched 2 nights ago was Denver and LA. And it came down to the wire, Joe. And I watch a lot of regular season NBA games. Mm-hmm. And I don't see dudes this tired. In the fourth quarter, they've got energy. There were people on the court that were looking exhausted. Like they were competing. They weren't coasting. They weren't like, it was almost like trying to figure out who's going to win this thing, who's going to fold first. Like who is going to get because some of these guys were like, they were dragging up and down the court, just exhausted. You don't see that in the regular season. Guys aren't competing that hard.
Wasn't this a scene from the movie Airplane when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is in the cockpit and he's like, "Oh, you look like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar." He's like, "Oh, no." And then the kid goes on about, "Yeah, my dad says you're always loafing during the regular season," and he just tears this kid a hole.
But it's 100% true. Draymond Green was actually talking about the Indiana Pacers, and he thinks Indiana is going to get blown out by the Milwaukee Bucks. That's his opinion. I don't know if he's right on that, but he made an interesting point. He called Indiana a regular season team. They coast. They don't play that hard. They don't play defense. They're going to get their eyes open in the playoffs. And whether that's true or not, because I think you can flip a switch, guys aren't playing that hard on a night in, night out basis, 82 games a year. Playoff basketball, it's a different type of intensity, and you can see it. Same thing with playoff football, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a different intensity in playoff football than there is in a regular season game. But my point to say that is you might not be working out as hard as you think you do. Like, yes, I get it. You showed up at the gym for an hour, but how hard did you work? And that's where I would argue CrossFit really got their hooks in people. And I'm a big CrossFit fan, but like if you're racing somebody 5 minutes for time, you're doing Diane, you're doing Fran, you're doing, you're doing like one of these named workouts, you're doing Karen, you're doing you're going after it. You're doing more work. And this is where people got hooked. You're doing more work in that 5 to 10 minute circuit than you were doing in 2 hours at the gym before.
Yeah. And I've seen that with people who start CrossFit. I used to run a CrossFit gym for almost a decade. And take Karen, for example. It's 150 wall balls. So it's a full squat, a full thrust. You got to throw the ball to a 10-foot target 150 times. And usually people's first goal is to just complete the workout. Yeah. And then you find out a guy like Tommy Hackenbrook does it in 2 minutes.
So he told me before the games when we were training, he was like, if you can put us within 2 minutes of anybody by that last event, and it's wall balls, he's like, I will mow them down. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's like, I'll do this shit in 3 minutes. I'm like, what? Like, for real? Okay.
But see, it's a great example of like how the progression works, right? If step one is finish it, well, now we have a measurement. It took you 37 minutes, but you finished. And then you get down to 35, and then you get down to 30. And then you watch a guy like Hackenbrook do it, and you're like, oh, and all of a sudden you're doing it in 15, 10, 7. Like, there's something to it.
So I have a Tommy Hackenbrook memory. It's my favorite one. He was trying to convince me to be part of their team for the CrossFit games. The team games, right? And I was like half considering it. Comes in the gym one day and he sets up a deadlift, 315. And he sets up a box jump, 30 inches high. And he goes, time me, I'm doing 21:15.9. So 21 deadlifts at 315, 21 30-inch box jumps. 15 of each, 9 of each. So by the end, you do, what is it, 40?
45.
45 of each.
Yep.
Okay. Start the stopwatch. Joe, how long do you think he did that in? What was his time?
Oh, Jesus. That man, I'm going to say under 3 minutes.
He did 3 flat.
Yeah.
And my jaw dropped. And he's like, what? I'm like, I honestly, at this stage of my life and career, I want nothing to do with this, dude. He's like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, you damn near did 50 reps of deadlift alone at 315 in 3 minutes is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like 5 sets of 10 with like 20 seconds rest between each. Like, and you put these box jumps into. I want nothing to do with this. There are people that can't do 45 reps of deadlift at 315 in a week.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is, like, you might need to, you're not Tommy Hackenbrook. You're listening to this, you're like, well, I'm not a CrossFit kid, sure. But like, you might be able to run a mile faster than the 15 minutes you did it in yesterday. You might be able to do it in 12. You might be able to do it in 9. You might be able to do it in, it's actually funny, Joe, you know what the standard is for policing in Ontario? The 1.5 mile standard? 9 minutes.
For 1.5 miles. That's actually booking for 1.5 miles.
Yeah, so you got to run a 6-minute mile.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want you, and I love police. I am very pro-police. I am also critical of police. But like, this is to get hired, Joe. You got to run a 6-minute mile. Meanwhile, I tell people, like, you got to run a 6-minute mile. Like, I would never do that. It's like, well, you're not getting hired. Like, I just want to put that out there. If cops are doing it to get hired, you can go do it. Trust me. And they need to hire people. They're not trying to exclude people at that point. So my thing is, you're fat, you're out of shape, you're whatever. You honestly just need to work harder. That's number one. You need to feel I like that word better than hurt. You need to feel a gross amount of discomfort in the gym. You need to, I'm not saying you have to throw up. I'm not saying you have to whatever, but like, at the very least, you should see Jesus a couple of times during this workout. Actually, that's actually not inclusive at all.
I was just thinking about, like, if you're working out, if you're a Catholic and you're working out so hard you see the Buddha, yeah, you're in the right place.
Yeah, listen, so if you want to be inclusive, Joe, whatever you believe in is okay with me. Jesus, Thor, Odin, Zeus, the Buddha, Vishnu, like whatever deity you base, whatever maker creator you believe in, Allah, you should see him a couple of times during your workout, or her. So you should see that person a couple of times during your workout. Like, there should be some moments. There's a phrase I love from rowing. If you don't want to quit at the halfway point, you're not going hard enough.
Right.
You should have thoughts of, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to do this. Then you'll see some progress. So that's number one. Number two, you probably need to show up a little more.
Yeah.
Because if you're watching this and you're showing up 7 days a week, you don't relate. You're like, I look good. But if you're only showing up 2 or 3 days a week, you're probably not happy with yourself. You probably look in the mirror and think you look a little soft. You're probably the guy that thinks, man, I got to get my summer body back. People who train 7 days.
Mathematically, an hour is only 4% of your day. So what is your body responding to? You have this one stimulus for that one moment in one day, every 3 days and you expect your body to really take
Yeah.
that as I have to grow?
Well, but again, Joe, the person that the exact 4% of your day, but the person that shows up 7 days a week doesn't have this summer body mentality. Like the person that needs to get in shape for the summer, that needs to drop 20, they're not showing up 7 days a week. That's just, so you got to go harder. You got to show up more. And you said something earlier on a call we had. I thought it was brilliant. Don't even focus on 7 days a week. If you're showing up 3, just give me 4. If you're showing up 4, just give me 5. Do more. I promise it'll pay off. Number 3, stop treating your body like an amusement park. Like just watch what you put in your mouth. You don't have to eat the sleeve of Oreo cookies. You don't, when you buy your kids a Happy Meal from McDonald's and they don't eat their fries, you don't have to eat all their fries. You don't have to, if you have half a soda, you open the can, you could pour the rest down the drain. Like you're not morally obligated to drink the whole thing.
I've said this before. There's no shortage of pizza, right? So you don't have to cram in that last piece. There's no shortage of soda pop in the world. The Coca-Cola Corporation has plenty. So if you dump out half a can, you're not ruining an economy. Like it's okay.
I love the people that say, I got to go on a diet, but first I got to eat everything in my pantry. Because, that dollar of Chips Ahoy cookies that you're throwing away, you really want to save that dollar. Like, that's going to break the bank. Me and my wife laugh about this. She took out a thing of like a can from that. I can't even remember what it was right now, but it was past the expiry date. She's like, should I risk it? I'm like, for 99 cents? No. So what do you mean? I'm like, well, like, let's reverse this. Like, would if I gave you $1, would you be willing to get sick? She's like, hell no. Like,
or if you had botulism and you were like lurching into the toilet all day, would you pay $1 to get out of that situation?
Yeah, like you'd pay $100 to get out. You're going for an IV, you're doing whatever. So, like, same thing with food. Like, throw your junk food away, but also, you're not even making a sacrifice. And I've said this before, and I say this again. You could have really, really tasty, delicious food that also happens to be healthy and homemade and whatever without sacrificing. You live in Italy. You can speak like from your soul about this. You can have if I gave you a choice right now, Joe, I'm going to get you that cacio di pepe homemade pasta with the parmesan and the pepper and the whatever that's made in the giant cheese wheel, or you can have a box of Kraft macaroni and cheese. I honestly, I don't know who picks the Kraft macaroni and cheese. I don't know who picks that real bowl of spaghetti and meatballs over a can of Chef Boyardee. I don't know who picks the fake meat over like just a really good ribeye steak. I don't know who picks the McDouble. And listen, I love McDonald's. I loved it as a kid, whatever. But I don't know who picks the McDouble or the Wendy's double bacon cheeseburger. I know way too much about fast food, by the way. I'm outing myself. But I don't know who picks that, Joe, over when we went to the NADC burger in Austin and went to a burger place with a burger made by a Michelin star chef. Like legitimately, Philip Franklin Lee. So like I don't know who wouldn't be happy with that choice, if you know what I'm saying.
Well, and again, like I said earlier, like why is half a gallon of ice cream a reward at that point? It's like just kicking yourself in the stomach as far as all your goals are. Like, isn't a steak and a potato a pretty damn nice meal?
You think? I mean, you go to a high-end restaurant, there's always like a ribeye on there, or like a flank steak, or like a some kind of thing. So like, just stop eating like garbage. Like that's it. Like it's literally that simple, Joe. And you don't have to drink every Saturday afternoon. Trust me, I enjoyed the Lakers Nuggets game that came down to the wire the other night just fine without a beer in my hand. You know what I mean? Now, if you're out with your buddies and it's social and it's like, fine, but that's not, and I want to leave with this, Joe, that's not the beer that's killing you. When you're out with your guys on a Friday night, you decide to go to, I don't know, and I don't want to like single anybody out, make fun of anybody. You're some backwoods hillbilly in the middle of Wisconsin. You love your Green Bay Packers. You got your little jersey on. You're talking about the good old days with Dave Lombardi, the hat. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. Whatever. You think you know everything about football. I hope I didn't offend you in any way, Joe. I just realized this is probably you that I'm discussing. But for real, you decide to go out with a couple of your buddies in Wisconsin for the Green Bay Packers are in the playoffs, and you have a beer on a Sunday afternoon. That's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right.
Just now, to be fair, the Wisconsin way is for each person to drink a case of beer before the halftime show.
Okay,
so
fair.
It is
even
different.
Even that on a playoff game is not going to kill you.
Yeah.
And if you eat your state food, which is like a fried cheese curd or whatever it is, that's not going to kill you either. Like one day, that's not it, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what it is? It's when you come home from work on a random Tuesday, you're by yourself, you're working at the mill, you get in the front door, you take your work boots off, and what do? You walk straight to the fridge, you pull a beer, and you crack it for like no reason other than you're home, and that's what you do.
Well, we've already established that you're not consistent with your workouts because you're working out once, maybe twice a week, every now and then. But the one thing you are consistent with is the crap you're putting in your mouth every single day, like clockwork. So what do you think your body is adapting to?
And then it's not only that you're adapting to that beer. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. You work the 7 to 3 shift and you're kind of hungry, but you don't want a full meal because you got to have dinner at 5. And if you don't eat with family, your wife's mad and blah, 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 blah. So you have a bag of chips because that goes well with the beer. And then, Joe, it's your turn to barbecue. You're making dinner. And while you're barbecuing, you crack another beer. And so now you've had 2 beer and a bag of chips completely unconsciously without even a reason. Like you're not out with your boys. You're not out with your... And so here's a little math lesson for you, Joe. You go and you do it the Wisconsin way. The Green Bay Packers, and I wish you could see it over here. You might be able to see it on the screen, actually. The Green Bay Packers destroy my Dallas Cowboys. And you're living your best life. And it is hell being a Cowboys fan. But you drink the 24 beer before halftime, and you have 24. 24 beer, great. But you do that a couple of times a year. We'll even call it 5. It's 120 beer for the whole year. Or you have those 2 beer a day. Just not thinking about it. Times 365 days a year, 730. For what? You're not, like I love when people say, I had to have a drink, I'm social. Well, looking like your body, it wasn't just every second Saturday that ruined you. Like, what did you do on that random Tuesday? What did you do on that random Wednesday or Thursday or I'm not worried about one night on the weekends. Mm-hmm. In fact, I know all kinds of bodybuilders that have epic cheat days on Sundays. They're just going nuts. But they're really strict Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So when you say that, okay, wait, you cheated, this hurt you, I'm not even worried about that. Okay, great. You had a good meal. You went to the Cheesecake Factory for dinner. Good for you. But like, what did you do yesterday for lunch? Yeah. When you were at work, like, what about that Snickers bar? It's almost like people think those don't count.
Right.
Right? Like, it's your behavior that, like, that didn't count. Like, you just completely are disassociated. That happened in college. Okay, well, did it like that? That's exactly what that is, Joe. That's what gets you.
Yeah. You know? Those little tiny things add up. So, I mean, even like a fun-sized Snickers bar. Because what are those? Like 150, 200 calories? But like if your goal is to lose 1 pound a week, and so you've got 150 calorie a day deficit, like you've just undone your deficit with that stupid little, not even that good tiny candy bar.
So it's math. What did you say? 120 calories?
150, I think. 100, 150. Split the difference, 120.
So we'll go 150.
Whatever.
That's a fun size Snickers. It's like a half a bag of chips. It's one Gatorade during your workout. It's whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you do that 365 days a year. That's 54,750 calories that you don't need.
Yeah. And divide that by 3,500.
It's 15.6 pounds of fat extra over 3 years. There's your extra 45. And listen, I know that you're watching this and you're thinking, no, it's not that. Thanksgiving made me fat. It wasn't one day. Christmas made me fat. You know what? It was the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs. They had 2 playoff games and I'm overweight. No, it's the fact that you just didn't pay attention day after day after day after day after day. And it's not your genetics. You don't need Ozempic. You don't need some magic diet. You literally just need to learn to say no to a fun size Snickers bar. When you're at the office, just say no to the thing from the vending machine. When you're working out for 20 minutes, I know you saw the Tiger Woods commercial where he's sweating red Gatorade. You think you're losing all kinds of electrolytes while you're walking on the treadmill or talking to like a cute girl or guy by the water fountain, but you don't need that Gatorade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's that simple. So stop overthinking it. Just get to work. Work harder. Work more, and just kind of watch what you put in your mouth. Like, don't treat your body like a music park. And I promise you, this process will be way easier than you think. Like, it's literally that simple. You're trying to overcomplicate it. Just cut out that fun size Snickers bar. Just give me 10 extra push-ups. Just give me 20 extra minutes, and you will be good. I promise you.
I love that. It's like small things add up, but that's for good or for bad, right?
Yeah.
It's like small things can add up to 15 extra pounds a year, or they can add up to losing 15 pounds a year.
And you would tell people, actually, I want to ask you a real question and we'll cut this off for real. A beer a day. There will be people that will look you in the eye and say, I don't have a problem. It's just one beer a day. It's not a big deal. I'm never drunk. I come home. I enjoy a beer. What's the big deal? I watch my NBA. I watch my NFL. I watch my hockey. I watch my baseball. It's just one beer every night. No big deal. For a year, that's 365. I say beer in Canada. In America, we would say beers. 365 beers. My question to you, Joe, is have you drank 306? Like how long would it take you to consume 365? Like, I'm going to argue you probably haven't had that many alcoholic beverages in the last decade.
How about this? 100 bottles of beer on the wall, 100 bottles of beer.
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to sit down and drink.
We've talked about it. You'll go Friday night with your guys. You'll have game night or whatever. You'll have like maybe a whiskey or maybe 2.
Yeah.
Maybe you're at 100 drinks a year. Maybe. Because you're not going every Friday night to game night. So like, yeah, I get it. How one drink a day, you don't think that it's a problem. But 365.
Well, and what's your goal? You know what I mean? Is your goal to have a beer every day? Well, then great, because you're crushing it.
You're crushing it.
But if you're telling me your goal is that I need to lose 15 pounds by the end of the year, well, what are you willing to do to change?
And it's not just beer. Then there's 365 bags of chips, 365 bun-sized Snickers, 365. But I just want to say this because I don't want to be a jerk. If you have a beer a day, whoever's listening to this, I apologize for my tone. If you're having a beer a day, Dave, Becky, Karen, Joey, whatever your name is, that's okay. You're just living a life of moderation. You do you. You be happy. You have that bag of chips every day. Man, you needed it. You had a hard day at work. Bobby Maximus, you work out every day. You are obsessed. You have a problem. You are a narcissist. People need to watch out for you. Like, this is really a thing, Joe, where if you have a drink a day, you're totally normal, totally good. You have a soda a day. The average American drinks 40 gallons of soda a year. Totally normal. You binge watch 9 million episodes of Love Island. Totally good. You exercise every day, you narcissistic POS.
I'm going to flip this around before we wrap this whole thing up, because you said earlier, like women justifying the dad bod. I don't want someone who's obsessed with themselves. Well, here's the deal. I work out every day. I don't want someone who doesn't want that either. So that goes both ways.
We're good.
If you're not willing to put a little bit of work into yourself every day, I'm sorry, but you're not good enough for me.
You go get yourself a guy that's not obsessed, that drinks a drink or two every day, watches a sports game every single day, and binge watches like episodes of The Office every day. You just go get that. That's okay.
Yeah, that's fine. If that's what you want,
not an
go for
obsession
it.
at all, Joe. That's just living your life and being the best you that you can be. So, Be Real Podcast, Joe Cebula, Bobby Maximus. That's all we got today. But listen, here's the deal. We didn't inundate you with ads. We didn't try to sell you stuff. We didn't harass you with codes or promos. So what you will do to say thank you if you found this entertaining, if you laughed out loud, if you got angry, because that's a form of entertainment, if you got heated, just share this podcast. Send it out on email. Send it out in text. Be careful who you send it to. Send it to a person they might think you're calling them fat, and that might be a good thing or a bad thing. Guys, you might not want to send your wife this podcast. Or
maybe actually, you do. I don't know.
Send it. I think it's entertaining. Just give it a listen. I don't mean anything personal by it, but share the podcast and come back for the next episode. Subscribe, notify, likes, click the
things.
The bell, the star, the whatever. Thank you.